Now, hundreds of migrants have been staying at a former RAF base in the Essex village of Wethersfield, despite a concerted campaign by locals. And now, just days after it was announced that all the asylum seekers will move out, it's being reported that the site could be turned into a massive prison. Well, joining me now is the chair of the Fields Association in Wethersfield, Alan Mackenzie. Alan, welcome to the show. Must have been a bittersweet week for the residents of Wethersfield. At the start of the week, it seems to be the direction of travel. They will no longer, this RAF site, house asylum seekers. And then the very next day, you learn it could instead be a mega prison hosting 1,700 prisoners. What's your take on this development?
Well, I've commented that an asylum centre was a ridiculous idea for Wethersfield Air Base, and that proved to be the case. I think everybody in the country is by now aware that the government, the previous government, estimated set-up costs of £5 million there, and it ended up at £49 million, something that all the residents told the Home Office beforehand that it was an inappropriate site and it was going to be very difficult to host an asylum centre there. We are hopeful that the new government takes stock of its senses, and the idea that the Ministry of Justice had over 2 years ago about building 2 mega prisons there will be binned, because it's a stupid idea. It's such a remote location that it may well just be purely impossible to get the huge precast concrete blocks which these new mega prisons are constructed with through some of the rural road networks. There are only 3 routes in. One's Finchingfield Bridge, which has got was about to get a 7.5 ton weight limit and is so narrow lorries get craned off it on occasions. Another is Sybil Headingham, where the Home Office tried to get 3 wide loads of porter cabins through, got stuck and had to go home. And the other is direct through Braintree, up through Shalford and into Wethersfield, the village itself, which has got an almost impossible turn into it right before a primary school. The fact is, the Ministry of having spent about 2 years of studies looking at the possibility for Wethersfield, never got round to actually looking to see whether construction traffic could physically make it to the site. It is almost an impossibility for it. Probably is impossible, and they haven't done it properly. I'm just hoping, and I think residents are hoping, that this government is more competent than the last one in terms of looking at these sorts of sites for prisons or any other large infrastructure.
Now, Alan Mackenzie, of course, the government would say in response to all of that, yeah, we hear what you're saying, but our prison system is full. There are only like 700 places left. We must have new prisons, and it'd be far cheaper to convert Wethersfield than it would be to build a new prison. What would you say to them if they just called you NIMBYs?
Oh, we've had that originally, and we approached it. It's nothing to do with NIMBYism. It's to do with policies of government. If you look at the criteria for where the MOJ wants to site prisons, hardly any of that criteria fit the bill in terms of Wethersfield. If you're talking about rehabilitation, which this new government is talking about, and with the appointment of James Timpson as Prisons Minister, who was chair of the Prisons Reforms Trust, who we agree with a lot of their beliefs about where prisons should be sited, what they should be offering, what sort of size they should be, then we are hopeful that this government is not going to be looking at somewhere like Wethersfield, which doesn't fit any of those criteria for putting a prison. There is a new prisons programme already in place, the last one of which, 6 prisons to be built, the last one of which to get through planning permission is up in Chorley in Lancashire. That is waiting for the government to decide on whether that's going to go ahead or not. If it does go ahead, they are the 6 new prisons that were planned to be built by the previous government anyway, and meets the target for that new prisons programme. They don't need any more new prisons.
OK, we have to leave it there. Thanks for giving an impassioned defence. Your fight continues. That's the chair of the Fields Association in Wethersfield, Alan Mackenzie.